Go. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. My name is Maria KOROLOV. I'm the editor here at MetaStellar, and I'm going to talk to you about the best free speculative fiction book on Amazon today. It's a sexy retelling of the Little Mermaid story, and the author is a USA Today bestseller. So definitely,
We have hot daily and chess on the show as well.
okay.
For any of you who are into that stuff.
Yeah, that's Terrence talking. He's our assistant fiction editor. Other people also helped on today's reviews, including reviews editor Amira Lutfi, marketing assistant Lilibet Dominguez-Torres, and community members Tim McHugh and NC Nembertovsky. Thanks, guys. It's 10 books. It's a lot of books to get through, so I appreciate all the help that people offer. And if you, watcher out there, if you want to get in on reviewing these free books on Amazon, drop me an email. My contact information is in the description box below. So now, in addition to that book that I mentioned, The Little Mermaid retelling, we have 9 other books on today's top 10 list that we're going to get through first. And they include A Ghost Trapper dealing with a creepy haunting, A Sexy Werebear, and a woman who discovers her magical powers just as she's trapped at a Renaissance fair. The link
Renaissance Fair.
I know. The link to the article and to all the books is in the description box below. Keep in mind that Amazon's free books change very quickly, so grab these books before they're gone. Authors and publishers make the books free as a promotional thing or to get people to read the rest of their series. And they're only free for a couple of days, and then you might have to wait a year or more before they're free again. So this is definitely a great way to check out authors. And the books that make it to the top 10 list usually are extremely well written and fun, although the particular genre might not be for you specifically. And that's where we come in. We let you know whether you might like a book or not. We are a sci-fi magazine. We publish sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. And all the stories are always free to our readers. And we've published hundreds of short stories. And we also have an anthology out that you can buy on all the major bookstores in print and electronic form. And we're working on our second anthology right now. So subscribe to our reader newsletter, link in the description box below, to get all this free fiction, plus the free Friday report every single Friday afternoon, right when it comes out, so you don't miss any of these free books. Whew. All right, let's get into the books. All right, so book number 10 on today's list. Let me make this a little bigger for you guys. There you go. Ellie Jordan Ghost Trapper by J.L. Bryan. This is actually a collection, a box set of the first 3 books in the Ellie Jordan Ghost Trapper urban fantasy series. There's a total of 19 books in the series. The other books are $4 to $5 each. The 19th book will be coming out next February and is currently available for pre-order. And all the books are in Kindle Unlimited. And Kindle Unlimited is where you pay $10 a month and read all the books you want. And the majority of the sci-fi books on Amazon that, if you check the bestseller list, I think I checked a couple of days ago, last time to check this, and like 60% of them were in Kindle Unlimited. And that includes the paid bestsellers, not just the free ones. It's an excellent deal. A lot of bestsellers are on this list, including the Harry Potter books. Basically the authors get paid and you get to read as many books as you want. So it's a really great deal. I'm not necessarily a big fan of Amazon, but I am a fan of reading all the books for just $10 a month. So I do subscribe. And no, this wasn't a sponsored ad by Amazon. I just say that because if you're an ebook reader, you don't have too many options. All right, so
that code for this video actually is sponsored by Amazon.
What do you mean?
You're saying it's not sponsored by Amazon,
Oh yeah,
so
well the
it
video
is
itself
sponsored
isn't.
by Amazon.
Yes, yes. If you click on one of these links to these books, we're not going to get any money from it because they're free books. But if you click on one of our other Amazon links, we might get a percentage of the revenues that Amazon shares with their affiliates. And we're currently setting up the bookshop affiliate program as well. But yes, if you buy a book via one of our links, the money goes to support MetaStellar and help us pay for free fiction. But we have already signed up for the bookshop affiliate program. This will make Terrence happy. And so once we figure out how the system works, we'll be adding all the bookshop affiliate links in here as well, if you want to buy your books from independent booksellers.
Nice.
Yes. Okay, so back to the book. So Ellie specializes in getting rid of unwanted ghosts. So basically Ghostbusters. And it has a similar kind of feel and dynamic to it. Some humor, some banter, some creepy ghosts. I really liked it. So Ellie's in her mid-20s and she works as a senior investigator for Eckhart Investigations. And she's got a 22-year-old assistant, Stacy. And when the book starts, they're driving to the Treadwell house, located in an old area of town near empty brick warehouses and old abandoned factories. So this is pretty creepy. The owners of this house have just bought it. They want to convert it into like a B&B. And their daughter is seeing this creepy ghost, and the ghost comes from like a locked storage room, and it keeps getting unlocked, and the parents like are trying to do everything they can to like cover up this door, and it still gets slammed open, and there's a smell of death coming from it. So super creepy, super fun, and I'm really enjoying it. I like the banter between Ellie and her assistant. I like her business-like approach to the ghost hunting, the equipment, all that stuff. I am really enjoying this book, and I think I might stick with this and the series. I really like it when there's a lot of books in a series because I don't have to learn the characters' names with every book. I have a problem with names. So and also the fact that it's a long series kind of tells me that people like this book. They like it enough to read 19 books. So that's always bodes well. So I'm looking forward to finishing this book. Next, we have The Werebear Scare by Nova Nelson. The first of 3 books in the Ruby True Magical Mystery Cozy Mystery series. The other books are $5 each, but they're in Kindle Unlimited. So the story is about a Ruby who is a psychic who can see ghosts and has a big red dog named Clifford, who's actually an albino hellhound who communicates with her telepathically. She died when she was 29, but instead of becoming a ghost herself or moving on, she wound up in a small town of Eastwind, where she's now 26. And there's other residents of this town, some of whom are in their hundreds and some are immortal. So for example, the Grim Reaper lives here. And there's a bunch of witches here and werebears and other kind of magical creatures. And it's very cozy and quaint. So when the book starts, Ruby's on her way to the library to return a few books. Then she's going to get some tea and pick up some necromancy supplies before meeting a potential client. As she's walking through the town to the library, she runs into Ted, the Grim Reaper, and he's a kind of nice and optimistic guy, even though like he's death. And then at the market, she bumps into a witch who has an invisible angry ghost strangling her, but Ruby can see the ghost and gets the ghost off the witch, but then the ghost attaches himself to her. So now she has to do some magic and buy some ingredients so she can get rid of this ghost. And then she goes to the necromancy supply shop and runs into the handsome Werebear, who she's kind of acquainted with, but she isn't really close to. And she learns about a mysterious attack that happened. So This is a very charming book set in a cute, quaint, magical town. And everybody's charming and everybody's nice. And the world is very richly detailed and complete. And the writing style is a little quaint and old-fashioned. It reminds me a bit of the Cottage Tales of Beatrix Potter by Susan Wittig Albert, in case you've read any of those books. I have. I've loved them. It's very cute. You know, sometimes you need cute. And so I love
Exactly. Yeah, but especially with video games, I think there's like way plenty of splatter stuff out there already. I mean, uh, sometimes you want something a little more chill and cozy.
Yeah. So exactly. So if you're in a book for something super, super cozy and quaint and adorable, check this out. I definitely am. It's a nice bit of escapist reading. And that's the kind of thing I want over a weekend after a long week of difficult day job. All right. So on to the next book. It is Keep on Asking by Jeffrey McClain Jones, the first of 3 books in the Prayer Writer Christian fantasy series. The second book is $6, and the third book is currently available for pre-order and will be coming out in March of next year. The entire series is in Kindle Unlimited. This isn't the first time this author has been on this list. We reviewed his book, The Girl Who Sees Angels, back in February. Tim McHugh read this book, and he said that this is a Christian themed book that takes place in modern times. And Tim prefers sorcery and dragons and planets and space battles. So it's a little out of his wheelhouse. And the book starts with Josiah, a 10-year-old boy whose family is reeling from a tragic accident. His younger brother was hit by a car and is now in a coma, and nobody knows whether he'll live or die. And so the first 2 chapters move very slowly. Josiah walks around the house, does whatever a 10-year-old boy does, interacts with his family members, plays on his computer, cleans up the blood from the street outside, and he thinks about religion and whether praying will help. And Tim says that he stopped reading like right there. But from what he can tell about the book, Josiah will pray and will be taken into the spiritual realm where he'll go on a journey in which his brother's life hangs in a balance. And he's guessing that the plot will show to the reader how valuable God can be. The writing is good, but we do spend a lot of time in Josiah's head. And so Tim doesn't see himself reading a book with this much religion in it. He says it puts boundaries onto what the author can do with the plot. And he also doesn't like the 10-year-old protagonist because he doesn't really like young adult books. So it's a very niche genre, but if it is your niche, you might like this book. Next, we have Elvish by S.G. Prince, the first book in the 3-book, the Elvish trilogy series. The second book is $6, is in Kindle Unlimited. The third book will be released at the end of this month and is now available for pre-order. So Vennick, a fighter and a hunter, is up against a mama bear. He's accidentally caught his foot in a bear trap, and the bear is mad at him for trying to stab her in the throat. So I read the beginning of this one. And Vennick is mortified that this is how he's going to die, except some elves shoot the bear with an arrow. Vennick is trespassing in the Elvish lands, and he's been hunting there because food in the mountains was scarce. And so the elves are going to kill him. So he lies and tells them that he's carrying a message to the Elven city. He's on a mission for the Elven Queen. And so he pretends he can't speak Elvish, but he actually can. And the reason he's pretending he can't speak Elvish, because in Elvish, you're not able to lie, because the language is magical. And so he asks the elves to teach him Elvish, so that he can prove he's telling the truth. And of course, teaching him Elvish will take years. And so instead, they free him, and one of the elves defends him from the wolves and stitches him up. And so she decides to take him with them and teach him the Elvish language along the way. So this guy is just lying all over the place, and I did not like him, and I didn't like the Elvish girl. Clearly, she's a really bad judge of character, and but I do have to say that the world building is extremely compelling, and I wouldn't mind spending more time in this world. And maybe these characters will be redeemed at some later point. Then we have a book that TERRENCE began, Even Pretty Things Rot by Farah Ali, the first of 11 books in the Dearly Hollow psychic thriller series. The other books are on sale for $1, but usually they're $3 each, and they're all in Kindle Unlimited. So what did you think of this book?
I really got into this book. It was a little more graphic than I would have preferred, but I like the premise of this book. It basically reminded me a little bit of the TV show Twin Peaks or the video game Alan Wake, which is one of my favorite video games ever. So you should definitely check it out if you haven't. So basically, it's a small town near a forest and a mountain that has these weird things that happen there. Like all the residents put deer antlers in front of their houses because it was built on the grounds of an indigenous deer worshipping tribe that got slaughtered by white settlers because, as we all know, white people ruin everything. And the story is going to focus on Lila, who is a 23-year-old girl who has the memory loss after an accident that damaged her head around the time that basically her father allegedly murdered her family and then shot himself. But she's been having these nightmares, or as she calls them, visions, that suggest that there's more to the story than that. And so the new local sheriff named Jack Montague, who left behind his life in the city to turn back to leave behind a tragedy that he felt personally responsible for. And the reason he got this position was that the previous sheriff wound up committing suicide, which I suggest might be connected to like the supernatural happenings surrounding this town. So basically what's going to happen is Jack and Lila are, I think that's how you pronounce it, so forgive me I am pronouncing it wrong. Basically, murder is going to drive them to work together, and hopefully she's going to figure out what happened to her family for real, get the whole story, and it's from what I gathered, it seems like her nightmares are somehow related to like the nature of the town. She claims to have psychic abilities, and some people just think she's absolutely nuts, but she does psychic readings pro bono as a bit of an outlet for her powers. So I really enjoyed this, and I would like to continue reading it at some point. It's worth checking out if you're Twin Peaks or X-Files fan. If there's definitely something here for you.
All right. All right, let's go on to the next one, which is number 5, The Duchess and the Orc by Finley Fenn. The first of 8 books in the Orc Sworn romantic fantasy series. The other books are $3 to $6 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited.
Told you we'd have sexy male chests in the show.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
So Fenn has been on this list before. We reviewed The Librarian and the Orc last July. So, Maria Anita Basala is the second Duchess of Warmisham. She's married to the ruler of Freya, but he's abusive, manipulative, and cheating, and he never really cared about her. He only wanted her money. And now that he has her money, he doesn't even bother to pretend to care about her. And in this setting, the kingdom has a peace treaty with the orcs after a long war. And the orcs enjoy kidnapping wealthy women of status and using them to bear monstrous children. And Maria Anita's husband claims that he married her in order to protect her from the orcs because they're so hated and evil. But Maria Anita would rather be kidnapped by the orcs than stay with him. And she also kind of wants to punish him for all the bad stuff that he's been doing. So she escapes from the palace and heads straight for Orc Mountain, where she says she wants to hook up with an orc and have its baby in order to destroy the Duke's reputation. So Lilibet Dominguez Torres read this, and she says that she's not a big fan of like the orc romance or monster romance in general, but she was pretty impressed with the start of this book. She loves the writing style, and she really connected with the main character right from the start. She enjoyed seeing the woman like reach her last straw and plan her crazy revenge plot. And so she won't be sticking with a book because she's not a fan of this particular genre. But if you like steamy monster romances, she says it's a really fun read. And judging by the picture here, that's not an ugly orc, you know, if that's the orc's chest. So assuming the rest of him kind of goes, matches the chest area. All right, next we have another book that I was reading, and it's The Magical Renaissance Fair Mysteries by Erin Johnson, Nova Nelson, and Trixie Silvertale. Oh, those names are great, What a great name for an author. So this is a collection of the entire series, and it's a humorous modern day fantasy. And normally the books are $7 each, but they're in Kindle Unlimited. So Adelaide has just had a bad breakup, and she's on a really bad date. She is at a Renaissance fair, and her date is like so annoying. He's into like birds, but he's like seriously into birds, like creepily into birds. And they run into her ex and her ex's new girlfriend, who are both awful people. And Adelaide wishes that a bird would poop on her ex and his girlfriend, and it does. And so she doesn't know what to think about this. She says goodbye to her bad date and goes off and gets drunk at the fair. And she eats some magical cookies. She was warned by a handsome stranger that they were cursed, but she ate them anyway. And so when she tries to leave the fair, she can't because she's now part of the curse. And there's like a force field around it. And she runs into it like you'd walk into a glass wall. And nothing that she can do can let her out. And she's not the only one trapped in there. Everyone who works at the fair is trapped. And only people with magical abilities are susceptible to the curse. Normal people go in, do their shopping, watch the acts, and then leave again. But everyone else is trapped there. Some of them have been trapped there for hundreds of years in this Renaissance fair. So it's kind of a cute premise. And what happens is, so Adelaide has no idea what she's doing, what's happening. And one of the fair's workers, who runs a trained animal act, says that she's going to take her in and basically makes her slave. And when Adelaide wakes up in the morning, this woman is dead with a sword through her chest, and Adelaide is the prime suspect. So she has to solve the mystery and figure out a way to break the curse and figure out what her magical abilities are. All the usual, but it's a unique premise. I haven't seen a book quite like this one before, and I've read a lot of books in the genre, but it's light, it's fun. I don't like the way Adelaide is pushed around by people, and I don't like the way that her new best friend at the fair, another woman who works there, is also pushed around by people. But I have a feeling that they'll both overcome those challenges and triumph, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. It's just a fun, light read. And I've already...
I wonder if there's anyone in Starfleet uniforms who have been to the fair pretending to be time travelers.
Well, not in the sections that I read. I read the first few chapters, but maybe they show up later because people do go in all sorts of costumes to Renaissance fairs. So who knows?
They're violating the Prime Directive.
Yes, they are. All right, number 3 is, let's make it a little bit bigger for you guys, Sons of Olympus, Storm Chaser by Eden Royale. The first of 4 books in the Sons of Olympus urban fantasy series. The second and third books are $4 each, and the 4th book is currently available for pre-order and will be coming out this July. So I read the beginning of this, and it's a romance. It's a romance with a cheesy premise. So if you like romances with cheesy premises, go for it. Me, not so much. So in the prologue, we learn that the fire in the center of the palace of the Olympus gods has gone out. And Hera, the goddess who's married to Zeus, decides that the way to save the world from death and destruction, which will come as a result of this fire going out, is to have more love in the world. That love is what really makes a difference. Specifically, what she wants Zephyr to do, Zephyr's her servant, she wants him to go to Earth and find these guys who are direct descendants of the Olympians and find them their true loves. And Zephyr says, well, let's have Cupid do it. And Hera says, no, it has to be honest, true love, not something from a magic arrow. So, and if he succeeds, then Hera will name Zephyr a hero. So there's something in it for him, and if he fails, the world will be destroyed. So that was the prologue. Then in chapter 1, we meet Zed, son of Zeus. His hobby is chasing storms on his motorcycle, but he's lonely. He's getting tired of just riding around on magical roads through the sky. It doesn't give him the same thrills as it used to. So then the story begins with him and his friends racing through the sky, and they see a mortal motorcyclist down below on the ground, nearly keeping up with them, almost leaping directly into the storm on the motorcycle. And the storm basically stops. And it's like this mortal woman has stopped the storm. So Zed is very intrigued. And there's something about this woman that captivates him. So he decides to stick around. And then in chapter 2, we meet Tempest, who's the woman. And when she's not riding her motorcycle through the storms, she's a librarian. And she is so bored of her boring provincial life in the small town with all the provincial people. And she walks around with her nose in a book. And any second you expect her to burst out into song. It comes really close. So her best friend wants to set her up with a town hunk, but she wants nothing to do with him. Of course, she wants to be with a motorcycle gang that just arrived in town. The Storm Chasers, because there's something about that handsome leader of the motorcycle gang that really appeals to her, and all his scars and tattoos and motorcycle clothes, all the things. So it's way too mushy for me. There's too much romance in it. So if I was writing this book, I would take out all the romance and put in a lot more murder and mayhem. Or, death, destruction, focus on that part. But no, I have a cold heart. But if if you like romance, and you particularly like super cheesy romance, check it out. It's definitely very, very readable. Next, we have the number 2 books on our list, Transient by Zachry Wheeler. The first of 3 books in the Immortal Wake tech noir saga that bills itself as Blade Runner meets Black Mirror. Terrence, you should have read this one. The other books are $3 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And so, as I mentioned, NC and Nabertovsky read this one. And Nick says that this is a story about a persecuted group of people that live just beneath the surface of society in a future version of Seattle. And we're dropped directly into the action with the lead character walking through the streets trying desperately not to be identified. And we find out why this is important, because another one of his kind is identified local police, and it doesn't end well. So he loves the concept here, but he says it's kind of slow moving. The action sequences feel like they're in slow motion. And so he kind of skipped ahead a lot to see what happens next. So he kind of feels like the tension level is cranked up to 11 and then just stays there. So which is a little tiring to read. He says the world building was very well thought out. And there were quite a few like foreign words in there, like Russian or Ukrainian words. Sounds a little bit like what Clockwork Orange had a bunch of Russian words dropped in there. And so, but Nick was kind of annoyed by this because he would try reading these words and then stumble over them because they're actually Russian. And there was a lot of details and information in the beginning that also kind of slowed him down. But he says, other than that, the storytelling is solid. You start right out in the action, and you want to find out what happens next. And the motivations of the characters were all left relatively ambiguous. You can't tell who's good and who's evil. And he read the first few chapters, and he's still not quite sure if the main character is a good guy or a bad guy. But that left him wanting to know more, and he says he's going to stick with the book. All right, so before we go on to the next book, I would like to thank our Patreon supporters, and Terrence is one of them. Thank you very much, Terrence. We really appreciate it. The money that we get helps to pay for original fiction and keep it free for you guys. All right. And then let's get to the #1 book on today's free bestseller list on Amazon. And it is Ocean's Justice by Demelza Carlton, the first book in the 6-book Siren of War fantasy series. The other books are $3 to $5 each, and they're not on Kindle Unlimited. And this is the second time this book has been on our list. Demelza Carlton, the author, is on this list a lot. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, like a dozen times she's been on the list since we started doing it a couple of years ago. A huge bestseller on Amazon. If you like fairy tale retellings, that's her major genre. The best thing she's known for is a 27-book romance and medieval fairy tale series. So Amira Lutfi read this book, and she says it's a retelling of The Little Mermaid. And Maria was thrown into the ocean on a raft and is rescued by some kind strangers in a boat. And a boy, Charlie, helps her get dressed. And she's really embarrassed, but he's really embarrassed, but she's cool with it. Then the captain confronts her. He says that the crew thinks that Maria was a monster who sank the last ship she was on, and that's why they threw her overboard. And Amira says she read the blurb, so she does know that Amira is a kind of a monster, but she's not clear on what kind it is. But I'm looking at the book cover, and considering that she's got a tail, I'm gonna guess that she's a mermaid. And of course, the book has Siren right in the series title, so maybe Siren. Amira said that she was kind of curious to find out what kind of monster Maria actually is. And it's a fast-paced story. And she was getting reverse harem vibes from it. So reverse harem is when the girl gets like all the guys instead of having to pick one. So Amira says that she won't stick with it, but as you can see from the fact that it's #1 on today's list, it is really popular with readers. And Demelza Carlton is a USA Today bestselling author. So a lot of people really love her writing. All right, and that's it for today's list. If you like that, subscribe and ring the alert so that you don't miss any of these. We do this report every single Friday, so you get free books for your weekend. And who doesn't want that, right? All right, thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, Terrence, for joining me today. And I'll see you all next Friday. Bye, everybody. Bye, Terrence.
Bye-bye.